What if I told you your dog has been talking to you this entire time, and you just haven't been listening? Every wag, every yawn, even the way they look at you, it all means something. But here's the shocking part: most dog owners completely misread these signals, sometimes with dangerous consequences. Today, we're unlocking the hidden language of dogs' secrets that will change the way you see your furry friend forever. So, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what your dog has been trying to tell you without a single bark. 9 Dog Body Language Secrets Revealed. Think about this: what if every time you spoke, the person listening completely misunderstood you? Frustrating, right? Well, that's exactly what happens to dogs every single day. They're constantly communicating, using an intricate language of body movements, ear positions, tail wags, and subtle expressions. But here's the problem: most of us aren't fluent in dog. Over 90% of a dog's communication is nonverbal. That means barking, whining, or growling is just the tip of the iceberg. The real conversation is happening in their posture, their eyes, the way they hold their ears, even how they breathe. And if we misinterpret those signs, or worse, ignore them altogether, it can lead to stress, anxiety, unwanted behaviors, or even aggression. Now let's get into it. Number 1, the tail wag. It's not always happy. Let's bust one of the biggest dog myths out there, because this one mistake gets people bitten all the time. Most people assume that a wagging tail means a happy dog. But here's the shocking truth: it doesn't. A dog's tail is like a mood meter, constantly shifting based on how they feel. But it's not just about wagging, it's about how they wag. The speed, position, and stiffness of the tail all tell a different story. And if you don't read the signs right, you could be walking into trouble without even realizing it. Let's break it down. Small blue diamond: a fast, loose wag. That's the classic "I'm so happy to see you" signal. You'll usually notice their whole body wiggling with excitement. That's a happy, relaxed dog. Small blue diamond: a slow, stiff wag. This is where things get tricky. A dog wagging their tail slowly but keeping their body tense isn't necessarily happy. In fact, it's a sign of uncertainty. They might be feeling nervous, unsure about a situation, or even slightly on edge. Small blue diamond: a high, stiff wag. This one is not friendly. When a dog's tail is held high and wagging in a rigid, tight motion, they're likely displaying dominance or even possible aggression. It's their way of saying, "I'm in charge here. Back off." Small blue diamond: a low, tucked wag. This is the opposite. A dog holding their tail low and wagging gently or tucking it between their legs is showing fear, submission, or extreme nervousness. They're trying to make themselves smaller, hoping to avoid conflict. Now, here's where this becomes really important. I once met a golden retriever, sweet looking, tail wagging, but something felt off. His owner, like most people, assumed he was happy. But if you looked closer, his body was stiff, his ears were pinned back, and his eyes looked a little wide. Classic signs of discomfort. And then, just as a new visitor reached out to pet him, boom, a low growl. The dog wasn't aggressive, he was nervous. If they had noticed that stiff tail wag and given him a little space, they could have avoided stressing him out. This happens all the time. Someone sees a tail wag, assumes the dog is happy, and then gets caught off guard when the dog reacts differently. That's why reading all the signs together is crucial. So next time you see a wagging tail, take a second look. What's the speed? The position? The stiffness? It might just tell you everything you need to know. Number 2, the ear position, windows to their mood. If a dog's tail is their mood meter, then their ears? They're the real-time radar for exactly what they're thinking and feeling. And once you start paying attention to them, you'll realize your dog has been giving you clues this whole time, silent messages just waiting to be understood. Dogs use their ears almost like an emotional antenna, adjusting their position based on everything happening around them. But most people overlook this tiny detail. And that's a big mistake, because a simple shift in ear position can reveal a lot about your dog's state of mind. Let's decode it. Heavy checkmark: ears forward and alert. This is a classic sign of curiosity. Your dog is engaged, interested, or maybe even on guard. You'll see this when they're watching something intently, like a squirrel in the yard or a new person approaching. If their stance is stiff with those forward-facing ears, they could be in high alert mode, assessing a possible threat. Heavy checkmark: ears pinned back. This is where things get emotional. When a dog's ears are flattened against their head, it usually means fear, anxiety, or submission. It's their way of saying, "I'm uncomfortable," or "I don't want any trouble." You might see this at the vet's office, when they're being scolded, or if they're feeling overwhelmed in a new environment. If combined with a tucked tail or cowering posture, your dog is probably feeling very nervous. Heavy checkmark. One ear up, one down. This is the ultimate I'm thinking face. Dogs do this when they're unsure about a situation, trying to process what's going on. You'll often see it when they're encountering something new, like an unfamiliar sound or a person they haven't met before. It's like their ears are working overtime, trying to pick up every detail before deciding how to react. Now, here's something fun to try next time your dog meets someone new. Watch their ears. If they flick back slightly but their body stays loose and relaxed, they might just be feeling a little shy. Give them time, and you'll often see the ears slowly move forward as they warm up. But if the ears stay pinned back and their body stiffens, that's a sign they might not be comfortable yet. Number 3. Eye contact, friend or foe. They say eyes are the window to the soul, and in the world of dogs? That couldn't be more true. But here's the twist: eye contact can mean two completely different things. It can be a sign of deep trust, or a direct challenge. In human communication, eye contact is polite. It shows confidence, respect, even affection. But in a dog's world, prolonged, unblinking eye contact can send a very different message. It's not just about looking, it's about how they look. Let's break it down. Eyes soft, blinking eyes, this is what you want to see. When a dog's eyes are relaxed, with slow blinks or gentle squinting, it's a sign of affection and trust. You'll often notice this when your dog is cuddled up next to you, feeling completely safe. It's the same reason why dogs slowly blink at their favorite humans. It's their way of saying, I feel comfortable with you. Eyes a hard, unblinking stare, this is where things can get tense. If a dog locks eyes with you, unblinking and stiff, it's not affection, it's a challenge. In dog-to-dog interactions, this type of stare is often a sign of dominance or aggression. You might see it right before a fight breaks out, or when a dog is guarding something valuable like food or a toy. If you ever find yourself in this situation, don't meet the stare, look away calmly and avoid escalating the tension. Eyes avoiding eye contact. Now, this one is fascinating. If a dog looks away when you try to make eye contact, it doesn't mean they're ignoring you. It's actually a sign of submission or discomfort. In the dog world, direct staring can feel confrontational, so a dog avoiding your gaze is often showing respect or anxiety. You'll see this in rescue dogs, nervous puppies, or dogs that have been punished harshly in the past. And speaking of that, let me tell you a quick story. I once worked with a rescue dog, a beautiful, but deeply fearful Labrador mix. Every time I looked at him, he would turn his head away, refusing to make eye contact. At first, I didn't understand. But then I learned that in his previous home, eye contact meant punishment. He had been taught that looking at a human would lead to something bad. So, I gave him space. I let him come to me on his own terms. And after weeks of patience, one day, something amazing happened. He looked at me. Softly. Just a brief glance, but his eyes were gentle, trusting. And at that moment, I knew we had built a bond. That's the power of eye contact in the dog world. Number 4, the play bow. It's not just for fun. If there's one body language cue that screams let's have fun, it's this one. The play bow. It's one of the most universally understood signals in the dog world. Even if two dogs don't speak the same language, different breeds, different backgrounds, they all understand a play bow. But here's what most people don't realize: this simple stretch can mean way more than just playtime. Let's break it down. Heavy checkmark: a playful bow with a wagging tail. This is the classic let's play invitation. When a dog stretches their front legs forward, lowers their chest, and keeps their tail wagging loosely, they're saying, come on, let's have some fun. You'll see this at dog parks, in backyards, and even between a dog and their human. It's a social cue that says, I'm friendly, I'm happy, and I want to interact. Heavy checkmark: a bow with a stiff body. This is where things get interesting. If a dog bows but their body remains stiff, with their tail held high or their movements slow and calculated, it might not be a playful invitation, it could be a challenge. Some dogs use this to test boundaries, especially when they're interacting with a new dog or even their owner. They might be saying, are you going to engage with me? What's your next move? If you ever see a dog bow but hold eye contact in a hard, unblinking stare, pay attention. It could be a sign that things are about to escalate into something other than play. Heavy checkmark: a quick bow after getting in trouble. This one is fascinating. Sometimes, after a dog has been scolded or corrected, they'll suddenly drop into a play bow. But they're not asking to play, they're actually trying to diffuse the tension. It's like they're saying, hey, I didn't mean any harm. Can we be friends again? Dogs do this with each other too. If play gets a little too rough, a quick play bow can reset the mood and keep things friendly. And here's something even cooler: wolves use play bows too. In the wild, a wolf pack will use this signal to invite play, yes, but also to calm things down if a situation is getting too intense. A well-timed play bow can turn tension into fun, preventing conflicts before they start. So next time your dog does a play bow, take a second to really read their body. Number 5, yawning. It's not always sleepiness. We all yawn when we're tired, it's just a natural reflex, right? Well, in the dog world, yawning is so much more than just being sleepy. In fact, it's one of the most overlooked signals of stress, discomfort, and even social bonding. Let's break it down. Dog face a yawn during training? If your dog suddenly yawns in the middle of a training session, pay close attention. They're not bored, they're overwhelmed. It's their way of saying, "This is getting stressful, and I need a break." Imagine studying for an exam, and suddenly your brain feels fried. That's exactly how your dog feels when they can't process too much information at once. If you see this, try slowing down the session or making it more fun to relieve the pressure. Dog face a yawn around new people? Ever notice your dog yawning when a stranger approaches or when they enter an unfamiliar place? That's not exhaustion, it's nervous energy. Dogs use yawning as a self-soothing technique, like a deep breath before a big moment. It helps them stay calm when they're feeling anxious or uncertain. So, if your dog yawns while meeting someone new, they might not be ready for interaction just yet. Give them time to adjust. Dog face a yawn right after you yawn? Now, this is where things get really interesting. You know how yawns are contagious between humans? It turns out that dogs catch yawns too. But here's the fascinating part: studies have shown that dogs are more likely to yawn after their owners do, rather than a random person. Why? Because yawning in response to someone else is a sign of social bonding and empathy. If your dog yawns after you, it's proof they're emotionally connected to you. Pretty amazing, right? Try this: next time your dog yawns, don't just brush it off, observe their body language also. Number 6, licking lips, more than just hunger. We've all seen dogs lick their lips, and most people assume it just means they're hungry or enjoying a tasty treat. But what if I told you that in most cases, lip licking has nothing to do with food? Instead, it's a powerful way dogs communicate stress, uncertainty, or even an attempt to avoid conflict. Think about this: have you ever scolded your dog and noticed them quickly licking their lips? That's not guilt, it's discomfort. Dogs don't feel guilt the way humans do. Instead, lip licking in that moment is their way of saying, "I'm unsure, and I don't want any trouble." Or maybe you've seen a dog lick its lips while meeting a new dog. That's not about food, it's a classic calming signal. Dogs use this subtle action to de-escalate tension, almost like saying, "Hey, I'm friendly, let's keep things cool." It's their version of waving a white flag. And here's something fascinating: wolves and wild canines do this too when approaching dominant members of their pack. It's a universal sign of submission and peace. Now, let's talk about lip licking during training. Ever noticed your dog licking their lips when learning a new command? They're not thinking about a snack, they're processing information. It's a subtle stress response that means they're concentrating hard or even feeling a little confused. If you see this, it's a good idea to slow down, make the session fun, and let them build confidence. One trainer once told me, if a dog licks their lips when you're near, slow down. They might need space. And that's a lesson every dog owner should remember. Number 7, the whale eye, a big red flag. This one is a big red flag. If you ever see the whites of your dog's eyes more than usual, known as whale eye, stop what you're doing immediately. This is one of the clearest warning signs a dog can give before things take a turn for the worse. Imagine this: you're reaching for your dog's favorite toy, and suddenly, they shift their gaze without moving their head, showing a flash of white in their eyes. That's whale eye, and in that moment, they're saying, "Back off, this is mine." Ignore that signal, and you might be met with a growl or worse, a bite. Resource guarding starts with subtle cues like this, and recognizing them can prevent serious misunderstandings. But whale eye isn't just about guarding objects. If a dog's body is stiff and their eyes are darting sideways, it's a huge sign of stress. Whether they're in an overwhelming environment, meeting someone new, or feeling cornered, that sideways glance is their way of saying, "I don't like this situation." And here's something many people miss: whale eye while being petted. Just because a dog allows petting doesn't mean they're enjoying it. If their head stays still, but their eyes shift uncomfortably, showing the whites, they're tolerating the attention, not loving it. Number 8, the freeze, the calm before the storm. This is one of the most overlooked warning signs in the entire dog world, and yet, it's also one of the most important. If a dog suddenly stops moving, completely freezes, pay attention. This is the calm before the storm. Think about it. A dog is wagging its tail, having fun, and then bam, it goes still. No movement. No sound. Just frozen. In that split second, your dog is making a decision. Do I need to defend myself? Should I run? Should I react? This is critical because when a dog freezes, it's a sign that something is about to happen. Let's break it down. If a dog freezes when someone reaches to pet them, it's not because they're being polite, it's because they're not comfortable. Maybe they don't trust that person. Maybe they're nervous. Either way, if you push forward instead of backing off, you're ignoring their loudest silent plea for space. Now, picture this: 2 dogs at a park. One is happily trotting up to say hello, but the other? It stiffens. Ears forward. Body locked. That moment of stillness is a split-second decision: is this friend or foe? If you see a dog freeze in an interaction like this, step in before things escalate. Because when movement resumes, it could be with a wag or a warning snap. And here's one most dog owners don't see coming: freezing during play. Dogs can get overstimulated just like kids. What starts as fun can tip into tension in an instant. If your dog suddenly halts mid-play, don't just assume they're catching their breath. That stillness is them recalibrating, deciding if playtime is still fun, or if it's getting too intense. Fun fact: wolves do this too. Before attacking prey, a wolf freezes to assess its next move. It's a deeply ingrained survival instinct, and your dog still carries that same behavioral blueprint. So, next time you see a dog freeze even for a second, don't ignore it. Number 9, the happy shake, like hitting a reset button. You've seen it 100 times: your dog finishes playing, meeting someone new, or even just waking up, and suddenly, they shake their entire body like they just stepped out of a bath. But here's the thing: they're not wet at all. So what's going on? That full body shake is actually a reset button for dogs. It's their way of releasing built-up tension and shifting gears into a new state of mind. For example, ever notice your dog shaking right after meeting a new person or another dog? That's because social interactions, even friendly ones, can be a little stressful. The shake-off helps them clear out that tension and move on. Or maybe you've seen your dog shake after a training session. That's them processing new information, almost like hitting the refresh button on their brain before moving on to the next task. And one of the most common shake-offs? Right after waking up. That's their way of getting their body and mind ready for action, kind of like how we stretch and yawn before getting out of bed. So, now that you know the secret language of dogs, which of these signs have you noticed in your own pup? Have you ever mistaken a wagging tail for happiness when it meant something else? Or caught your dog giving you whale eye and only realized later they were uncomfortable? Drop a comment below and share your experiences. We'd love to hear your stories. Oh, and before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss out on the best dog tips and tricks. Your pup will thank you.